Today's beading project will help you feel the love, a French beaded flower brooch pin. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, my name is Fan Lee, designer here at the Bead Flora studio. I'll be showing you step by step on how to make this rainbow flower brooch pin. For beads, I am using size 11 seed beads and 10 colors. I use the colors of the rainbow as well as a few extras. Lastly, you will need a small brooch pin. A free PDF with step-by-step instructions can be downloaded on my website because I want to make this pattern accessible. Check out the description for the PDF with the material and tool list. Now let's get started. Cut off 45 inches of 24 gauge silver copper core wire. First, I'm going to start with the red, and I'm going to string on 10 of these beads here. And you want to leave about a 3-inch tail for the end. And we're going to take the 10 beads here, and we're going to cross the wires and make a loop. And then we're going to twist twice to form the first loop here. I'm going to set this aside. And we're going to work on the pink. I'm just going to string on the rest of the beads here before I make the loops. And so we're just stringing on 10 of each color. Alright, so let's make a knot at the end here so the beads don't fall out as we make the loops. So for the second loop here, leave about a 1/8 inch of space in between. So just hold on to that little space right there with your fingers. And we're just going to make the next loop right next to the first one. And just have the cross here right on your forefinger so you're steadying it. And you notice how my thumb is holding on to this wire right here also, and that steadies it also. Okay, now let's make the next one. I'm going to show you one more time with this one here. Again, 1/8 inch. Hold on to the beads here so that there's no bare wire space on each side, and make a loop. So now what we have here is 6 10 bead continuous loops. Let's smush all of these together and then take the working wire here and just wrap it around this tail wire here one time. That's it, just once. And then we want to reposition this. We want to reposition the tail wire so that there is a wire on either side of these stamens here. So I'm just bending down the yellow one here and just taking the working wire, bring it over and down, and then push the yellow stamen back. Okay, smush it some more. So it's a lot more stable. Okay, so now let's make the petals. Now for the petals, I'll be stringing the beads on using a bead spinner just because it would just be a lot faster. You can still continue to scoop the beads if you wish. String on about 2.5 inches of beads onto the wire. So now we're going to make the petals using a technique called the continuous crossover loop. I do want to show you that I do have the end of my wire in a little knot so that the beads won't fall off here as we are making the next loops. Let's leave again 1/8 inch of space. Hold on to the mark here with your finger, and then let's count out 20 beads. So we have 20 beads right here. Straighten out the wire here. Okay, so let's make our loop. Put the cross over your finger and take your other hand and twist. And notice again, I have my thumb holding onto the wire, steadying it. Just pinch the loop here so that it is elongated here. And that's the look that we're going for. Now let's push the beads onto the working wire. Push it down. And then bring the beads up against the loop. Just going to push it so that it is along the middle of the loop here. And then remove any excess beads right up here. And then we're going to take this wire, the bare wire, and bend it over the top of the loop here. Now we are on the back. I'll push the beads up. So now take your thumb and hold on to the bottom here to steady it, and then take the working wire and wrap it around this wire right there, and that bare wire right there. Just wrap it around twice. Bring the working wire back to the right hand side. Now next we're going to do the pink petal. To leave about 1/8 inch in between, and count out 20 beads here. And I want to show you one more time because I had just the right amount of beads for the last petal there, for the red petal. Okay, so I've made the loop. Pinch the loop so that it's elongated. Bring the working wire up against the loop. Bend the bare wire back to the back, and then bring the beads up. Now I had just enough beads for the first petal. I'm going to show you what to do if you have just a lot of extra beads like this. I normally have a lot of extra beads. So what you would do is just to remove any excess beads here. So you want to remove the beads so that it is right here. If you have this here, it'll still be fine too, but you want to have the wires covered up. So you can just play around with that, right? I mean, with this, if you have the one less bead, it'll still work. With one more bead, that'll just still be fine. Let me see here. If you add this bead here, it'll probably still be fine too. It's just be harder for you to hold on to and wrap. So just play around with that. Let's see. I think I want one less bead right there. That's just be easier for me to hold on to it here without any beads sliding all over the place, and then wrap. Bring it back to the right hand side and just tug. Okay, so now I'm just going to remove these excess beads right here. Now let's wrap the petals around the stamen here. So wrap it around tightly. but we do want to position the first and the last petals together here. And let's twist just lightly at the base there, so it's nice and tight. Make sure that the stamen is right in the middle and not all loose. And now we're going to reposition this tail wire here, so that is on the other side, and we're going to reposition around the yellow petal here. So I'm going to take this one, move the yellow petal up, and wrap it around the base here. Now we're ready to attach it to a brooch pin, and I have these smaller brooch pins here, and these look to be about 3/4 of an inch. So let's open up the brooch pin here, and these have 2 holes, and the bigger ones also have 2 holes, even though they look like the normal 3-hole ones size-wise, but they have 2 holes. Now with these, make sure that the pin part is facing up. Okay, now stick both wires through the holes here. Now we're going to take the wires and wrap it around the brooch pins several times, about 3 or 4 times. Just make sure that the pin part here is out. This part is facing out, because you don't want to wrap this in here with the wire, because then you'll just like wrap this in, and then it'll be hard for you to open your brooch pin later. So just make sure that the pin part is facing out. All right. And we're just going to wrap this carefully around. Just make sure you don't hurt yourself as you are wrapping it around the brooch pin. Okay. All right, now we're moving on to the other side. With over here, I'm just holding on to the stamen here to steady it. Okay, now you can either cut these wires off and then tuck it in, but I just don't want to deal with, you know, scrap wire. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wrap it around here, around the base of the pin. While I'm doing that, I can close this here so I don't hurt myself either. Now we can close the brooch pin. Okay. And now let's just wrap this around. And the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to hot glue a little piece of fabric here. And what I like to use are like the petals from artificial flowers. I cut the little petals out into the shape that will cover the brooch pin, because I already have all these artificial flowers lying around that I'm not using, and I like them because they don't fray when you cut them like regular fabric. You can also use felt too, but I just like to use what I have, and this is what I have. So I already cut it to the shape, just like a little circle, so that it would cover the pin and also just a little bit more. While we are waiting for the glue gun to warm up, if you like this project and would like to learn more about French beaded flowers, you may be interested in my 2 French beading books. Bead Flora, The Revival of French Beaded Flowers. This book will walk a beginner step-by-step on making beaded flowers. And my second book, French Beaded Branches in Bloom, you will be exploring branching blooms using some very interesting technique gymnastics. You can find signed copies on my website or all major book retailers online. Okay, so first I already have my hot glue going. So I'm just gonna, that's a bit much. Okay, so here we go. Just right towards the middle. And then stick it on. Hold on to it for a minute. All right. And now I'm going to open this up here, just the flap. And I'm just going to, I didn't want that much glue. All right. It was just preheating and it was just coming out. Okay, just want a little bit here. I don't want too much. Oops. Okay. All right. Now the next side. Open up the flap here. Or do this side. Get rid of the glue strands and we are all set. I know, it looks like a mess. You do need to shape this. Okay, so let's move the stamens back in the middle. Move the glue strands and we want to shape these petals. Okay, so let's move them back where they belong. And the way that you want to do it is to hold on to the bottom of the petal with your fingers here and then take your other fingers and bend them in. Or hold on to the center of the stamen to help steady it and bend. So this is how I'm holding it, towards the back and bend it in. It's wire, so it will get out of shape, but all you need to do is reshape it. So as you're wearing it and it gets out of shape, fix it. All right. When I made the brooches, I strung all of the beads all at once on a length of wire, and then I made each of the stamens and petals. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not having you do that in this tutorial, it is because for the continuous crossover loop, it is hard to gauge the exact number of beads you need for the crossover loop for each person, especially if you are a beginner. The beads that you need for each unit can vary from time to time too. So that's why I'm not having you do that. But as you are gaining more confidence in knowing the exact number of beads that you need per each continuous crossover loop, you can definitely string all of the beads onto the wire at once. Let me know in the comments if you'll be making this brooch, and happy beading!